contrast the typical I'm never going to eat cake again, and then I do, a few weeks later, approach with the approach that you encourage in your workshops?
Yeah. Well, as you said, this whole idea of resolution doesn't work. And so many of us have tried that, as if suddenly, after X amount of decades of habitual patterns or things that we're doing, that we're simply going to resolve, that we're going to stop that. And if we look at ourselves honestly, and in general, meaning that we don't actually operate like that as human beings. So the whole idea with this is more of one of renewal. And it's interesting, if you go back to the beginnings of New Year's resolutions, resolutions actually are said to have started around 150 BCE in Rome. And the god was Janus, which then became January. And the notion of Janus was that he had two heads. He was looking behind him, and he was looking in front of himself. And renewal, which is the entryway, if you will, to me, to not looking so much as resolution and resolving, but more of we're actually renewing each year. And there's somebody already here. So we're not just simply throwing out the old, bringing in the new. We're actually being realistic and staying in touch with our heart about we're here. And because we're here, then that's where we begin on this, what we're going to do next year, as well as when you say renewal, there's something more to it. There's something further to it. You're renewing and you're going forward. So this quality of how to renew then takes us to aspiration versus resolution. And when we aspire, we have to begin with where we are. So that's the same quality as renewal. We begin with the ground. And at the same time, we have a sense of what we could do, what we could be. And that's very heartfelt. And we really sort of can envision that, actually. We can just about taste it. But there's a journey there, which is what we usually don't really pay attention to. We're here, we're going there. There's very few things we can say we're going to drop as of right now. I'm going to stop doing this. And actually, that's important. You could say smoking is like that. But almost everything else is really a transformative journey rather than, I changed. Everything you saw for the last 20, 40, 60 years is gone, and here I am, the new me. An important aspect of what we aspire towards is that we see it as a journey, so that then the journey itself begins to embody the very thing we're trying to aspire towards, which is fantastic. Because in other words, we're able to start being, if you use the science analogy, and I'm not very good at science, but they write this up, you're strengthening something as you're heading towards it. You're building it. The more you do it, the more you actually allow it to seep within yourself and you express yourself. So therefore, the journey itself becomes an integral part of the transformation. It's not just here today, there I am tomorrow. And as we do that, we're not just, again, throwing out the old, rejecting it, bringing in the new, but we're transforming it and we're using it as a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. And that's so much more human and so much more real. And it really, instead of creating struggle and fights and judgment calls about I'm bad, I'm good, I didn't do that, I didn't, oh, look at my vow, it's 1 month later, it's gone. Mm-hmm. We're being real, and we're really touching ourselves, and we're being honest with ourselves, and we're simply being, and we're working with everything in our life. So mindfulness is establishing a way to be with ourselves, become familiar with our mind, how we work, how it works, and how to be present in the moment. And what we simultaneously notice is we can touch in with this sense of fundamental calm, peace, quality, which we have, which is also inherent to us along with compassion. And we also begin to recognize, oh my gosh, I'm going everywhere except being here. I'm thinking about yesterday, I'm thinking about tomorrow, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, but I'm not actually present in this moment to experience my life. So we bring that in and use our intelligence and use our heart to really understand where we are, what we need to leave behind, not in the sense of it's over with, but we're going to work on refraining because we see more clearly through our meditation how something impacts us. We see that it can be unhealthy either to our mind or our body. And the more we see that and the more time we spend with ourselves, and that sometimes is challenging, but it's also fantastic that we are actually, for the first time maybe, for some of us, allowing the time to take for ourselves to be where we are and to see where we are. Once we do that, we actually can move. Until that, we go around actually in large and small circles because we haven't stopped long enough to be where we are.